Hi, my name is Daniel, and I chose to give my speech on why everyone should register to vote and actually get out and vote during elections. I am 20 years old, and this past election is my first chance to cast a, was my first chance to cast a vote. I am very proud of my right to vote, and I plan on voting in every single coming election for the rest of my life. Several of my friends, however, weren't very motivated to vote because they didn't approve of the presidential candidates. There's never going to be a candidate for any office that totally aligns with anyone on every single issue. But a lot of what our country stands for is the right to elect our own officials. Voting is a constitutional right, and I believe that we actually have an obligation to exercise the rights that have been secured for us by past generations. So, why exactly should we vote? Well, even if you vote for someone who has almost no chance of winning, it's still important to cast your vote for who you believe should be the next official. And here's why. There's much more to voting than just voting every 4 years for whoever's going to be president next. You also have all your different local votes, such as governor and mayor of the town and things like that. And if the area you live for is known for not voting, then politicians won't even try to make policies that are going to help your area. For instance, if the mayor of your town knows that this neighborhood doesn't vote at all, they're not going to really care about the opinions of the people in that neighborhood, and they're not going to make policies that are going to benefit them. If they already know that you and your neighbors won't be voting, then to them your opinion is basically irrelevant. Honestly, voting for your local mayor or the governor of your state is probably going to have a much bigger effect on you as an individual than who becomes the next president. Sadly, though, far too many people don't participate in even their local votes. People are always complaining about the wealthy getting richer and the government not making any policies that address this, and here's why they don't. Statistically, upper middle class and people in higher classes vote on a much higher proportion than lower income citizens. Obviously, the politicians are going to spend their advertising funds and pass policies and laws that benefit the people who are actually voting. This is why the rich keep on getting richer. To politicians, their opinion is more important because they are actually voting. Money is not going to be wasted campaigning in areas that aren't going to aren't going to vote regardless. Voting also keeps you informed about what is happening locally and in the rest of the country. I know when I was getting ready to vote this past election, I was doing a ton of research trying to decide who I would vote for. This enlightened me to the issues that our country was facing. It's important for responsible voters to research on their own who they are voting for and know exactly why they are voting for the candidate. I also think that most people don't realize how close elections can actually be. There have been a few elections that have been decided by 2 votes or less. In fact, one of the governors in Alaska, his vote was decided by 1 vote. I'm sure that after people heard that, I'm I'm sure that after people heard how close the election was, there were a lot of people wishing that they had actually voted. The website for Knox County, Illinois set up to educate voters says this: Richard Nixon, not John F. Kennedy, would have become president of the U.S. in 1960 if one person from each voting place had voted differently. If just one U.S. senator had voted differently. The President Andrew Johnson would have been removed from office in 1867. Texas might not have become part of the United States in 1845 if one U.S. senator had voted differently. The vote in the U.S. Senate was 27 to 25 to invite Texas to become a state. If it had been a tie, Texas would have not been asked to become part of the Union. As you can see, there have been many elections that were far closer than anyone would imagine, even elections on a national scale. Hattie Lindell of Moody College references a 2008 poll that shows that only 45% of Americans are participating in elections. Less than half the country even has a say in who we elect. That is a sad statistic. A disproportionate amount of the younger generation, ages 18 to 24, aren't even voting. And I think it's important to educate college-age adults on the importance of voting to ensure that the future path of our country is the path that the citizens actually want it to take. I think as a bottom line, it is important to vote simply to demonstrate that we care about and are invested in our country and the decisions that it makes. A person posted a reply on enos.com and said that the only reason she votes is because it shows her commitment to the democracy we live in. While I vote for other reasons than this, she is right. There are too many people that just don't care, and that is going to lead down a path that nobody wants to go. Our country is a democracy, and the only way to ensure that it remains a democracy is to vote.